Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I'm very, very proud and honored to have Jody Seeley, Inner Light Healing Collective. I'm sorry, Inner Light Healing Collective. They're a
It's a
mouthful.
mouthful. Yeah, it
Yes.
really is.
And many people may recognize Jody from many other past gigs. Let's call them gigs.
Yeah. I like to call them my transitions.
Oh, I like that. We all
Yeah.
have transitions. And I know, did you here's a question, totally before we get going.
Yeah.
As you were transitioning at every stage, did you stumble or did you find it difficult when people would say, focus on one thing? Did you ever have that happen?
Well, it's funny because I was having this almost exact conversation the other day with someone about how we were talking about kids getting ready to go from graduation into life and going into school. And we were taught, I don't know if you were, but I know in my generation, we were taught like you have to pick what you're going to take in college for the rest of your life. Like it was this career forever. And there was so much pressure on
Right?
when I look back on like an underdeveloped brain to plan their whole life. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow, let alone at 45. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone a poor 17-year-old who had to plan her whole life. So I think I've always sort of been open myself to
Mhm.
transitioning different careers. So I think you have that foundation that you're supposed to do it forever, but my transitions seem to be like progressively almost linear and that would be what I would do next. But
Yeah, I
yeah, so I think
agree.
there was moments, but I just was like, whatever. I'm young.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Too. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad we had this conversation. I felt the same way. I came from a family of everyone did the same thing, like till they retired or died. And it just is wild to me
Well, I think
because,
an interesting sidebar thought to that is like if you think back to like the foundations of our generations of how we were taught, like you picked the career forever and you picked your significant other forever. Right? But we only lived till we were like 45 or 50 in that time frame. So having only one was really
made sense,
probably more simple. But now we live twice as long. So
isn't it?
things don't have to be forever if they don't, because time is irrelevant. Yeah.
And that's it. It is. It is. It just is a transition. I love that. We're in a season of transitions. But
Oh,
thank you for that because I think that's really important. Um, because a lot of people struggle with that is their identity with their career. And we touched on that off camera. But now we're here to talk about finding our blessings. Finding our blessings, it could be very deep, very deep. And for myself, this is why I'm doing this. Uh, because every day is a blessing, but there's usually something that happens that make us go deeper to the next level to finding our blessings. So with you specifically, did you happen to have a big failure or a life lesson that is there something that really stands out
I was like, how
as
long do we have in this podcast? Because there's several. There's several. Well, it's interesting. It's funny to put yourself in that mindset to think of it because I probably could rattle off numbers in like a number of scenarios where you felt like there was failure. But
Mm,
when hindsight is such a beautiful gift sometimes, and that
right?
I don't know if I feel like any of them were really failures per se. But I mean, there's with transition in career, with transition in probably the biggest one that comes to mind that I thought was a big failure was the end of my marriage. And so when that happened, I felt so much like I couldn't even make this work. I failed at this relationship. I failed at this promise that I made to myself and this other person and to our child. And I sat in that I don't know, the pool of that for a while until I realized it was better. Like our relationship now is we are best of friends and beautiful co-parents. And I couldn't imagine our scenario any other way because we just weren't meant to be together longer than we were together. But that one felt like the biggest failure to me. It was the hardest one to say out loud and to admit to people. And even in the process of knowing within that relationship had ended or was ending in my perspective, even saying it to him at the time was it felt very failure-like.
Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest one that comes to mind for me.
Well, I do find, thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable, because that is the key is there's no judgment. The only judgment that is from ourselves. Yes, the world is judgmental, but the only person that it really matters to is you.
Yeah.
And in this case, the other person, that
Yeah.
it's communicating that. And there's really no bad or good or right or wrong. It is. And I think that's a lesson. But
Yeah.
out of that failure or lesson, what did you discover about yourself?
I
Or
think the
the
biggest
blessing?
things, yeah, well, like I think we often as humans don't realize the strength and the resilience that we actually possess for so many things. And often I think the word resilience, we associate it with something huge or something traumatic or something wild and big, whereas really resilience can show up in beautiful little pockets in a number of scenarios. So I think that transition in my life showed me the strength that I had to go on my own, the courage that I possessed to take those steps to go into the next way. It showed me a lot about myself as a mom, because I think we have a hard time really analyzing with clarity who we are as parents and navigating the role of a parent in this human journey. And so it showed me a lot of my ability as a mother that I didn't really know I possessed or wasn't sure how I would navigate that in bringing my child through that transition at the same time, and how I was able to, manage his feelings and my feelings and outer external feelings that came at us from other people or family members, and how we navigated through that whole process was I learned a lot about myself in that time frame, and it was actually really cool.
That's so neat. I'm gonna cough. Means I have
Yeah,
some truth to tell.
approach opera time.
I know. I'm so glad you said that. And as you were describing yourself, I actually see you now. I see why you are such a dynamic, amazing light worker and guide and leader. So you're also a meditation. Do you call yourself a coach or?
I call myself a guide more often because I dabble a lot in the guided meditation route, and so I'm just here to help the journey. I'm kind of like a Sherpa.
Well, it's interesting as you were describing your relationship with your son and you were guiding him. I put myself in your studio sitting there as you guided me. So I see how that relationship and that situation has actually helped you be an amazing guide when we're on a meditation as well. You did an amazing job. Like I was on a journey with you. So like I see how you transitioned that lesson into helping others as well. So
Yeah,
it's really cool to hear that side of the story because I only met you 2 years ago.
yeah.
And now to hear your story, I go, of course.
And it's funny because if we were to, I mean, we didn't really connect brainstorm wise of what we would talk about before our recording today, which I love the openness. I wouldn't have thought in a million years I was going to bring up this element of my life because I haven't talked about it a lot, not publicly anyway, just and not out of shame, and I just haven't. And so I love to bring that, we bring it up because it's a very common scenario for
right?
people in this world. And there's so much stigma and shame surrounding these elements that we need to help people let go of.
And every guest that I have had has been very vulnerable, and we're in a safe place. Yes, this is going to be released to the world, and the people that will find it are the people who need to hear the message. And we know
Absolutely.
that. You and I are in the same realm, and they will find it. And they will find peace. They will find the light to actually give them strength to move forward. That's my hope anyways.
Yeah, I
I Go ahead.
amen to that. And just remembering, often judgment comes from mirroring. So if someone wants to judge an element, it's probably because it's being mirrored back to them and it has nothing to do with you. Not that that makes that easier for people at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
maybe a little more comforting.
Oh, we're starting to, I may lose you. I see. Oh, you froze. Or is it me that has frozen? We're gonna just keep
The
talking.
internet is
Yeah, your internet is unstable, it says. So it is, okay, now we're on. We're on again. This is what's wonderful about doing
the
this,
fun part of
because
being live.
there is no editing that is going to be happening yet.
Yeah.
But now let's go to the next question. The biggest success in your life that you have found this blessing. Can you find a vulnerable spot to share that biggest success?
Gosh, I feel like I could talk for hours on successes, and I wouldn't normally, I don't think I'd ever be comfortable in saying that until today too, Sheena. You've got magic of your own here. But what example would I give of successes?
What's the one that literally, when I said that biggest success, that just popped up? Because that means it's the most important right now.
Right now? Well, if it's on the same, if yeah, I don't know. I keep coming back to um like motherhood, I feel is a great success for me, but I'm also sitting literally in a success moment in the Inner Light Healing Collective studio. It feels early to call it a success because we've only been open for 2 weeks, but this has been a really cool journey and transition, and one that if you were to have asked me this a year and a half ago, even 2 years ago, I would have thought you were completely off your rocker, because this is not something I had in the wheelhouse of my brain planned for my life. But opening a meditation and yoga studio in my home community has felt really beautiful. And I feel like even last night we had this incredible workshop and it was packed, and there was people that I hadn't seen before, and like brand new people I'd never met, people who I didn't know were even open to being on a healing journey. And the space was so packed with this beautiful energy. And I just thought,
Mm.
wow, like this is why we're here. This is what why we even were brought to this point, because it's so far out of left field for me, but it feels like this is my most current success.
I felt that. The second you made the announcement of opening the studio, it I felt it. So congratulations, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
it was just, it was a blessing to be in your space as well. And I'm not just saying that, it really was a true blessing. And the feeling. So one of the things new to me is I'm trying to associate feelings with all my interactions. And
Yeah.
that is really one thing that has really been profound for me. Is before I was just sort of more mechanical. I did it.
Yeah.
Now I'm going into a place and I was feeling your guided meditation, the express noon, what did you call it?
I think we call it lunch express.
Lunch Express or so. It was perfect. And just that feeling I felt cared for. That was the very first feeling I felt was she cares about me. This place cares about me. I felt so loved and cared for. And a lot of us don't have that. So,
Yeah.
that I know you're a very big community
Advocate.
yeah, thank you. Bubba. And the community will come. They felt that. You were there for the flood,
Yeah.
and now you're here to help their healing. I think it's just absolutely goosebumps. Yes, it's wonderful.
It's in an interesting circle for sure. And I love hearing that that's how you feel, because we've worked very hard at generating how the space feels when you come in. And so when you're coming in the door, it's like you're being washed, like everything from your day, your life, your world washes off of you on your way in, and it pushes you out in a place of love to conquer it back. And we've worked really hard to cultivate and want to continue to cultivate that feeling when you come in here.
I felt it.
Yeah, because you can do yoga anywhere, you can meditate anywhere, but the space is what makes this extra special, because it
Yeah.
just you feel different in the space. Yeah.
Anyone's environment. Like let's go environment.
Yeah.
Any environment can either inspire you or deflate you.
Yeah.
So it is every environment that a person is in. So we can create an environment with the intention of elevating. And you guys have done it for sure. Okay,
Good.
here's our next question.
Ooh,
I
check.
am
Yeah.
really having this
Yeah,
guy really,
it's really
I know.
got something to say. Yeah.
It really does. And we'll just let it be. Um, this one, you sort of answered it, but what do you do? What do you love to do? Like what do you love to do? What does Jody love to do? What
I've got
brings
to
you joy?
feel like I have a passion list a mile long, but I feel like my favorite love in the last few months has been cold dipping in nature. So I have a cold dip tub. She's a whole other ballgame. I like being out in the river, in nature, giving my heart and soul over to the land, and having really each dip feels like a spiritual experience. And I have fallen in love with cold dipping, which is surprising because I am someone who, like, I hate winter. I hate being cold. It's my toes get cold. I'm not a nice person. Like, I just didn't like that. But I didn't start my cold dip journey until the end of September. So my whole journey has been through winter. So it's been very bizarre, but incredibly powerful.
It was watching you on social media with cold dipping because I am in your I old shoes, not your new shoes. I am in your old shoes. Um, and I when people ask me to go cold dipping, I'm like, nope, it's not for me. Nope, nope. And I'm just chalking it up. It's not time
Yeah.
for me.
I said
But
no for a long time too.
did you?
Yeah.
So, but I have watched your journey, and what I have noticed is you do look different when you take your after pictures.
Yeah.
Like I see your energy in your face, like the transition
Yeah.
is like, wow. So when you go in, here's a personal question now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, do you have to do positive self-talk? Like, what do you do? Like, I just like for me, I don't know. Like, I have no idea what I would do.
Well, I think that it will depend a lot on what space you're in when you're choosing to do it. if you're alone or if you're with other people. And just what I think is the most prolific thing about it is it has you really tune into what your body needs at that time, which
Oh,
is so based in meditation for me. Like cold dip's actually a very meditative process, because once you get in, and that, I'm not going to lie, that freezing cold shock to your body, you have to breathe and meditate through that to go through. And I had a beautiful friend, Tyrone, who I learned a lot of cold dipping from. And he had said, you know, the amount of time you're in the water is really irrelevant when you think about how many walls you're breaking down to be in that water.
wow.
And so that's what it comes to. So my answer to that is like, yeah, sometimes there's affirmations, sometimes there's just like coaching encouragement, sometimes it's just breathing, sometimes you're screaming the F word as loud as you can because it's just really cold. Like, and that's okay too. Like, there's no right or wrong in each individual person's experience, in my opinion.
I agree. Well, I have to say, watching your journey has inspired me to consider it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying yes yet.
I'm just here to plant the seeds. It'll come. We'll do it in the middle of August. It's so warm. You'll love it. But I think what's been an interesting piece, if I can interject another
Sure.
sort of transition, is I had an over 20-year career in radio, and I was a media personality and did a lot of high profile work, I guess to say. So in that, you are always like trying to be on. You wear your makeup, you do your hair, you're worried about your clothes. Like I MC a lot of professional events still to this day, and it's about, you have to be put together. The beautiful transition of cold dipping is it's allowed me to be in a space where you like doing your hair and makeup makes no sense. Like you are your natural, most vulnerable, authentic you. And with that, I took the courage in being, I'm going to post these images and share this journey on my social media, where Instagram can often be this highlight reel of the most beautiful things and people in the world. And I let myself just be. And that was a very difficult transition to be like, I'm going to post this picture with like no makeup on and I'm soaking wet and I'm in my swimsuit. Like, are you kidding me? And you had to just let it go. And it's been a big part
Mm.
of a self-love journey that I'm also on in the same time.
It suits you.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like, I have watched your journey since I've met you. And even in the short period of time I've known you, your journey is just leaps and bounds. I can't wait to see actually what is about to come,
Yeah.
because you walk the talk.
I try, authenticity is a huge importance for me in people that
Mm.
I interact with, people in my inner circle, and really became so important in self. And so if you can't be authentic, like what are you then? It's sort of, it's like, I know it's not that simplified, but it just really came down to, if I'm going to choose that I want authenticity in my life, I also have to be authentic in my life.
I
And not
love
every
it.
day, that's not easy every day.
No. I actually I listened to this one podcast with Jennifer Longmore. She is a channel for Mother Malia. It's fascinating, but I love, one of the things she refers to is it is having our own gold standard. And if we don't hold ourselves at a standard, and then that means anyone that is in our circle of friends, family, they also should have the same standard. It doesn't mean that we come out of our standard just so we can be friends with someone. That means we're compromising who we are, our authenticity. And that I see. I see your standards and I love it. And I never really thought of, I think a lot of people talk about boundaries a lot, but this is different. When you hold a standard, it means you can let people in, but you're holding yourself accountable first, and then everything else is, it just ripples. And I see that standard, or that authenticity, it shines big time with you.
Well, and I think standards is an interesting word when you use that. I'm going to counter it for a moment. In
Sure,
just
go
that,
for it.
like when you say you're holding someone to a standard, it also feels like you're holding them to like a limit or a space
Oh
or
yeah.
an exception. And so my feel in that is having softness in, because one of the biggest lessons I feel I've learned in this last year or so is meeting people where they're at. And so
Yes.
maybe our values and our opinions and our outlook is in opposition of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I love you in giving love from human to human when you're not on the same page as me? So if
Right.
someone doesn't have your standard, can you still be friends with them because you're in a different space? And what does that look like? And how do you, if we're living in Christ consciousness, for example, and we
Mm-hmm.
are going to love everyone for who they are. I love the lesson, even though most days I would say otherwise. I do love the lesson in being taught to love the people we don't actually like.
Isn't it true?
Yeah. Anyway, that just
It's
sort of
true. No,
that
I do agree
activated
with
that
you.
for me.
I think with the standard, I mean more or less, that standard is, what do I expect from myself?
Yeah,
It's not compromising who I am, but it
yeah,
doesn't mean I have to crush who you are.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like my husband and
And
I,
that's where
like,
we see so much negativity and anger in this world is we have to crush the other person's to be right. Like the desire to be right over the desire to is just, it's a fascinating thing to watch.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there really is no right or wrong. It just is.
Yeah.
It is. And my husband and I, we go through the same thing because, yeah, we agree on a lot of things, but we also disagree on a lot of things. And sitting there when someone's trying to have a discussion about something that is not important to you,
Yeah.
but yet I want to make sure he's heard.
Yeah.
It is, it takes work. It's not easy. It doesn't flow. Like talking with you, like we could actually go, oh yeah, and actually avoid some hard subjects.
Yeah.
But when you live with someone like that, it really, we've learned certain tricks, I'm going to say. Like he knows this is an off limit topic with me because he's not going to get the response he wants. So
Yeah.
it has been a navigational thing, and it's not right or wrong. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, in
I'm glad you
relationships
said
have
that.
so many dynamics. I
Oh,
love that you share that. Like it's
yeah.
it's humans. We are humans and we are going to have human crazy interactions with everything we do. Yeah.
I know, isn't it? I know
Yeah.
some days I'm like, who are you? And the other day it's like, thank God you're here. And the other day it's like, remind me again.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you? But he says the same thing back to me. So
Yeah.
that's when you know
Absolutely.
you're on the
As he
right
should.
track.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, oh no, we have two more questions.
Okay.
Um, Now, how do you bridge what you love into your business or your life? I think you sort of expanded on that, but
Yeah. Well, I think what's been really cool in sharing my journey of cold dipping on socials and bringing it into perspective is I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, man, I'd really love to try that. Could I come with you sometime? And so there's been sort of this really organic gathering of people who have wanted to try it and don't want to go alone. And so it turned into that I've sort of called myself a cold dip coach in that I bring people with me to coach them through the process and allow them an opportunity to try, whether it's for 30 seconds or 10 minutes or whatever that looks like. And so then when we built the studio, we built an opportunity for a cold plunge community to sort of grow as we. And so then we're hoping like my love of that can come into the studio, and we'll do that. And we've had, before we built the space, Jessica, my business partner, and I taught different workshops and things in the community. And we've had opportunities where we've taken people to dip after a workshop or after
nice.
a meditation night, and we've gone like on the full moon in the dark and all these different fun scenarios. So I was able to bring my passion for that into our business, which is kind of cool. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I was thinking, okay, what is the time frame for your dips on average now?
It honestly really depends now on like what the weather's doing and how long I actually have. I think some days you're trying to like sneak one in between a few things, but as the weather changes, your length of time can change, you know.
Okay.
So I went on the weekend, but the river's really high and it's really fast right now. And so my time in there is more limited because the current is so strong and you want to stay safe in the process as well. And so, yeah, it was maybe, I don't know. I don't even time it anymore, to be honest with you. I allow my body to tell me when it's ready to get out of the river. And so it was probably 10 minutes yesterday. I've gone as high as 25 in the cold water. And I've had days where it's been 2 or 3 because it was so freaking cold. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to know that. I have never asked anyone how long do you stay in there. So thank you.
I think they say on in research I've done and podcasts I've read and experts in the field that I've listened to, they say 6 minutes a week is what's really beneficial for the science behind what cold dipping can do for your body. And there's a lot of science behind cold dipping, but I find the nature version of it allows you for a very spiritual and soulful experience. And so in my opinion in that, the time is what you want it to be.
Exactly. Oh, I'm going to have to pay more attention when I watch I've been watching a lot of people, so I sort of feel like it's in my wheelhouse soon, but not right now.
Well, and I think it's everybody's, it's like anything you do, it's your preference of how you want that experience to be. You know, we have a group, we call ourselves the Mermaids, and we'll go and we often will do ceremony at the river. So we do a blessing. We do light some Palo Santo. We give an offering of tobacco to the land. It can be all these different elements that you can bring into of what connects you with why you're doing it, as opposed to, I don't think anybody's come and went, okay, well, I'm here to reduce my inflammation and have a dopamine release for the next 3.5 minutes. Like, but that's also, if that's how your brain works, great, do it that way. Like, it's really whatever you want it to be.
That's neat. I never thought of that, but that's very cool. I love it. Okay.
So you're going in, like, I already know you're coming in. So it's just when.
Just when. Okay. That will be the to be continued.
Yeah. Write this down, friends, as you watch. We're going to come back in a couple of months and we're going to do a recap episode and we're going to talk about Sheena's first dip, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. So we'll continue this talk later. Last question. Here is the big one.
Okay.
What are you grateful for right now?
I'm grateful that I was given gifts that allow me to help other people. And I don't think I would always know what those were, but I'm grateful that I'm given the guidance and the know-how in those little moments.
Love it. Yeah. I love it. How does that make you feel?
Well, and honestly, there's moments where I feel like an imposter, where it feels like unreal, where it feels a little like, what? And then there's moments where I'm just like, thank you for seeing like you know, whoever you pay your homage to of where those gifts come from. I am thankful to that entity for seeing me in a way that I'm unable to see myself most of the time. And I love that their view of me allows me to be that, whether I see it when I look in the mirror or not.
Yeah. The imposter thing is our ego. We know that, but I agree. That is such a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that. The thing I've learned just recently is I always say I'm very grateful. I feel very blessed, but now I'm asking for the but why. And the
Yeah.
but why is the magic. And
Yeah.
then add the feelings. And it's been profound.
Yeah.
I have an itchy
And
nose, so
offering
that's
yourself,
exactly it.
yeah, offering yourself the opportunity to be like, what is my impact?
Hmm.
And what does that mean? And then diving out of it, like, is there impact? What was the impact? How did the impact me? Like, it's kind of a cool space to be in when you allow yourself to be there.
Yeah. You're an amazing woman. I I feel very fortunate and blessed to have met you and know you. Uh, have very recently started trusting my intuition, and my
Mhm.
intuition is telling me you are a very important light leader in the community. It gives me like severe joy saying that, like to the point I want to cry. Um, your community needs you and loves you.
Thank
And
you.
um, I'm very excited for you because it feels right. It feels so good to see you in this transition and this role.
Thank you. And my newest, I don't know if it's new, but my lesson of the moment is receiving. So I'm just going to take everything you've said and and actually receive it fully into myself, because it is very difficult to receive good things. And you'd think that would be the easiest thing for us, but it's not.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And that is my intuition talking big time.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Jody. So, just to recap, tell us about your studio and what you have coming and where can people find you?
Yeah, well, you can find us literally on Center Street in High River, 710 Center Street. Online, we are on all the social media platforms. We have a website, innerlighthealingcollective.ca. And we are basically a yoga and meditation studio, but we're ultimately a healing center. So our yoga classes are not fitness based. We really have our consistency in our support to you is a continued healing journey. So whether that's in a body, mind, spirit sort of way. And so we have meditation classes, yoga classes, we do workshops on a variety of elements. And those are just going to, I know, explode into every realm. And then Jessica and I are both Reiki trained. So we offer Reiki services in the studio, as well as we wanted the inner light to also have an outer glow. And so we are both trained in facials. Jessica is a medical grade esthetician, and I've just got my facial certifications. And so we do Reiki infused facials in the space. So you have an opportunity to
Ooh.
come in for a beautiful healing experience where you're going to get a facial. We brought in an incredible, beautiful skincare line out of Australia called O Cosmetics. And it is medical grade skincare, but it's botanically based. And so you're not getting all of the chemicals, but you're getting real results in just helping to heal your skin and feeling good in that process. So yeah, there's facials and Reiki infused facials. And we've got a little retail section where you can buy skincare. We've partnered with some other great local companies like Zoom Garden for functional mushrooms and Drift Simply Natural for natural products and all these cool things.
Nice.
Hair Feathers, which is a local lady who owns, and it's yoga mats and yoga props and just like, and I think, yeah, all of the people so far, it's just worked out that way, have just been incredible women entrepreneurs. And so it feels really good to connect with people in that realm. And so that's kind of in a nutshell what our studio is.
That's wonderful. And I will be in the show notes. I'll put everything where they can find you. And thank you again for being you and authentic and vulnerable. I appreciate it. And that is it. And thank you again for joining us for Finding Your Blessings.